This episode contains conversations around chronic illness, medical trauma, medical gaslighting, and the emotional toll of being dismissed or unheard in the healthcare system. These topics may be distressing or triggering for some listeners. Please take care while listening and prioritize your mental and emotional well-being.
For the haters, come on, do it now or later. Yeah. It don't matter what your name is, share your story, we'll be waiting. For the haters,
Welcome back, everyone, to For the Haters. Today, we're talking about resilience, medical trauma, and what it really means to fight for your health. Our guest, Becca, was diagnosed with Crohn's disease at just 17 years old. What followed was a decade of trial and error treatments, failed medications, repeated hospitalizations, and a long, painful journey to finally getting the answers she needed. After years of suffering from unexplained and severe abdominal pain, Becca discovered that she has been experiencing repeated bowel obstruction, something doctors had overlooked for years. It wasn't until she landed in the ER in excruciating pain that she learned how serious her condition had become. Eventually, she had to undergo major surgery, removing 16 inches of her intestines. But today, Becca is in remission. She's sharing her story to raise awareness about Crohn's disease, medical gaslighting, and the importance of self-advocacy in the healthcare system. Let's get into it. Becca, thank you so much for being here. If you could just start out by telling us a little bit about yourself, where your journey started with Crohn's disease.
So I'm from Northwest Ohio, specifically a little village, literally a village called Lucky. It's got like 1,000 people in it. And I started having symptoms of Crohn's when I was 16, actually. I was in my junior year of high school, and I had lost a significant amount of weight in a short amount of time, and that was significant to me because I had always been kind of a bigger girl, and the sudden weight loss was just like a red flag. But I had also been having pain every single day after every meal, like during the night, like it would keep me up at night. I would have pain like every single day, and I didn't tell anyone for like 2 or 3 months. When the weight loss got really noticeable, people started noticing. I finally told my mom what I had been experiencing, and she started taking me to the doctors. I had just turned 17 when I started going to the doctors.
And what did you know about Crohn's disease prior to this? Did you know anything about the disease itself?
I knew what it was from the internet. I'm a classic, like, Reddit girly. Like, I like to look things up.
Love it.
And in my research, I knew it was either two things. It was either Graves' disease, which is a thyroid thing, or Crohn's disease, or ulcerative colitis, because ulcerative colitis is like the sister disease of Crohn's. So I knew it was kind of one of those things. And I just knew that my symptoms fit, but I didn't really know what it was going to mean for me long term. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And how long did it take you before you got that diagnosis in the beginning?
So I started going to the doctors in like February, and I went to a few specialists. So I think it was in April I was finally diagnosed. So it was like 3 months. Luckily, I had a really good, like, team of, at the time I was a pediatric, so I was seeing all pediatric doctors, and they were all, like, on it. So I think I had a really unique story in that aspect. A lot of people take a long time to get diagnosed.
You know, in that, not now, but back then, right? Like, how did that diagnosis impact your daily life, your relationships, mental health? Like, what changed the most for you when you first got diagnosed?
Well, I was in band in high school, which was like a big deal for me. And I was like, what are my treatments going to look like with band? Because I was a squad leader and a section leader for the clarinets. I played the clarinet. And I was like, what is this going to mean for me in band? Because I was so passionate about it. I was also like tired every day. I think looking back at it, I think I was depressed, not necessarily from my diagnosis, but from the mineral deficiencies that I had. I had several deficiencies, like anemia, B12, magnesium, like all those things. And I think that made me really depressed. And then I also remember like being out with my friends and always having to know where the nearest bathroom was. That was something that was really tough. And I was too ashamed to like talk about it with my friends, even though I knew that they like loved me. I was just too ashamed to talk about it. So it was a lot of like suffering in silence at first.
Yeah, and I know that you dealt with, doctors at the time also not listening to you, but it sounds like the first set of doctors were able to kind of get you the answers that you needed, but you were also pushing kind of for more answers, I
Yeah,
guess.
so pushing for more answers came later on when I started having the bowel obstructions, what I now knew were bowel obstructions. That was in 2018 that started happening.
And what year was it that you were
2013.
diagnosed? In that year's like does your life alter? I know that you spoke through just the relationships around you, but do any of your daily life, like your eating, your exercising, your ability to do physical, like does any of that change?
So, yeah, I had to make sure I had to pay attention to what I was eating a lot to see if I had like specific food triggers. Because a lot of people with Crohn's have specific triggers. Like dairy is really common. I don't have that trigger.
Can you actually can you just explain like high level what Crohn's is for someone listening that
Yeah, of
might
course.
not know what
So
it is?
it's an autoimmune disease, an inflammatory, it's IBD, inflammatory bowel disease. So it just creates inflammation in your digestive tract. And I mentioned ulcerative colitis earlier. So Crohn's and ulcerative colitis are like sisters. So Crohn's can be from your mouth all the way down to your rectum. And ulcerative colitis is only in your colon, which is your large intestine. So it just, both of them create inflammation, which makes it really hard for your body to absorb food. So that's where like a lot of people get malnourished and lose weight and stuff.
Is there a medication that helps, or is there anything that you can do with
Yeah,
having Crohn's
so
are?
there's actually a ton of different medication options now. And if this were to happen to me, like even as a kid in the 90s, like I probably would have had surgery like right then versus what they have available now. But when I was first diagnosed, I was taking probably like 20 pills a day as a 17-year-old.
Wow.
I felt like an old granny. I had one of those organizers and everything. But that was just to get the disease under control like immediately before I started the what they call the big dogs, which was the biologic. So the pills, some people stay on the pills because they prefer them and they work for them. In my experience, the biologics, which are like the injectables, have been like the best choice for me. I didn't want to take that many pills every day.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's got to be difficult to even
Yeah.
consume, right? I know some people that can't even swallow pills, so what does that even like look like for them? That's a whole lot of pills. You said next you were spending, years with dealing with unexpected pain and digestive issues. What was it like not knowing what was going on and being dismissed afterwards?
Yeah, so first I went to my PCP. And she was like, well, it sounds like gastritis because my pain was like right here, like right under your breastbone, like where your stomach is. And she was like, well, that sounds like your stomach. So I'm going to say it's gastritis. And so she sent me to my GI doctor. And he was like, well, let's just do a, an upper scope. And then he did the scope, found nothing, and I was like, well, my sister has gallbladder issues, and my issues kind of sound like hers. Like, what about my gallbladder? And he was like, okay, we can test that too. Like, the thing is, they ran whatever tests, like, I asked them to run, it was just everything was coming back normal. Like, they tested my gallbladder extensively, and because it really did sound like gallbladder attacks that I was experiencing. And at one point, I actually saw
Mm-hmm.
a surgeon after all the tests were done, and I was like, I think it's time to have surgery for my Crohn's, because I think my Crohn's is what's causing all this. Maybe my gallbladder is actually fine. And he was like, well, if I do surgery for your Crohn's, I'm also going to take out your gallbladder. And I was like, even though the tests were normal? And he was like, yeah, it's really common. Like, sometimes gallbladders can show up normal, but they're really the problem.
What was going through your mind? Like, what made you keep pushing for more answers, right? Like, I know that the pain was present and you weren't getting the help that you really wanted, but a lot of people would kind of just turn around and just say, you know what, not
Right.
dealing with this. So what was the thought and feelings behind that?
So I just I have really strong intuition, especially when it comes to like my health. And I just knew that I needed to keep pushing for answers. Like, because I'm the type that
Mm-hmm.
needs to know exactly what is going on. Like, I need to understand what is happening to my body. And I have really bad, like, health OCD. So, like, it was in my mind constantly. And
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, maybe the only way to catch it is to get imaging done while it's happening. So I was like, I don't know if that's possible, but like, I bet it's going to happen again. So why not like explore that? So that actually ended up happening. I got imaging done. I was having a really bad episode. And this was actually, I had just started a new job. This was like my third day when this happened. And
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing with Crohn's. It affected my ability to like look for a job, and it ended up affecting me
Mm-hmm.
that way as an adult. I thought I was going to get fired, but when I just told them everything that happened, they were understanding, thank God. But, anyways, that day,
Yeah.
I was actually eating carrots and grapes, and that apparently is a no no if you have active damage from your disease or if you're in a flare up. You shouldn't eat anything with fiber in it. So I didn't know that at the time. So I was at this job eating carrots and grapes, and later in the day I start having like a pain that starts like right where my belly is. And the vomiting got so forceful. I was crying just from vomiting that hard. And I was in so much pain.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing was helping. I probably took 300 or 400 milligrams of edibles that day.
Wait, 300 or 400 milligrams? Isn't that like
It
insane amount?
depends on the person, but objectively, that's a pretty large amount. But that's the only
Okay.
thing that would help me. But it didn't help that time, and I just kept vomiting. And so, go to the hospital. I was like, okay, it's time. And because I looked up when you should go to a hospital for a gallbladder attack. And it said if you ever get a
Mm-hmm.
fever and start throwing up. And I was like, well, I have a fever and I'm throwing up, so let's go. Let's find this out once and for all.
And that's when you went through the you went
Yes.
to into the ER. Walk us through that, right? You have all these symptoms, you have this like kind of breaking moment for you of like this is it. Like I need
Mm-hmm.
help. This is not okay. This is something there's something really wrong. And you walk into the ER where you finally get a diagnosis and what is that like and what does that feel like?
So my dad was actually with us too. So it was me, my dad, and my wife. And my mom at the
Mm-hmm.
time lived in North Carolina. So she couldn't have been there. But if she could have, she would have. And so it was me, my dad, and my wife. And the nurse just comes in and she goes, so this isn't your gallbladder. You're having a bowel obstruction. You have multiple. And we need to get an NG tube in you stat. And I was like, what the fuck is that? Me and like my dad was shocked. My wife was shocked because we had thought it was this one thing for so long. I just remember seeing them bring in the tube, and I'm like, that's going in me, like in my face. And they're like, yes. So
In
basically, they gave me a cup of water. They told me to keep swallowing it, and that would help guide the tube down. into my throat without them having to like shove it. They gave me the water and I swallowed. They put the tube up my nose and then it went down my esophagus into my stomach. And then at one point, they have to x-ray to see if it's in the right spot. If it's not in the right spot, they have to move it. That did happen to me once, not this first time, but that did happen to me at a later time. They had to move it, and it was awful.
Sounds traumatic.
So
Yeah, it sounds
the first
incredibly
NG
traumatic. Yeah.
tube experience was really traumatic. My dad was crying, which I had never seen him cry, actually. And I was, how old was I when this happened? I was 26 when this happened, and I had never seen my dad cry until this moment.
What do you think it was like just seeing you in pain and seeing you like struggling, or maybe it was a thought of, oh, this is more serious than we thought it
Yes, I think it was
was.
both of those things. It was like, oh shit, this is more than we thought. And also, like,
Hmm.
I was a daddy's girl growing up. So I just think he felt bad for me. Of course, he was my dad. He's my dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
That, in a way, was comforting, I guess.
With all of this happening, right? You're just in the ER, so obviously you're not staying in there. Do you get admitted? I know that these hospitalizations become kind of a repeated experience for you. What does that next timeline look like coming in and out of the
So
hospital?
that time that I went to the hospital, that first time when I found out what was happening, I was there for like 6 days. I don't remember much of it because I was on a lot of drugs. All I remember is the next day waking up still having pain, and I was like audibly crying out for my doctors because I was like, why the fuck am I still having pain? Like, why am I still in this much pain?
Yeah.
With this tube in my face. Like, it's supposed to like suck everything out. The doctors were like, okay, you're like coming up on needing emergency surgery, but we're going to try one more thing. And that was steroids because Crohn's is an
Hmm.
inflammatory condition. They're like, if you have active disease right now, steroids will like bring it down. So they did that. And within like, it was like a 12-hour turnaround. I was like feeling better within 12 hours, but I still had to have the tube in my face. I had that in for like 4 days. I was NPO, which means I couldn't eat or drink anything for like 4 days. That was hard. But eventually your body just kind of
Hmm.
gets used to it. Trying to remember, all the visits kind of like blur together. So I'm trying to remember what I did after this specific one.
You say multiple, like is it like a handful of times, or and how long, like in a period of time, are these visits happening?
So I had that tube two more times within a year. And then from 2022 to late 2023, I had probably a total of 5 hospitalizations. So in the span of like a year and a half, I had like 5.
Wow.
And one of them
Yeah.
was
That's
solely because of the pain I was in. My imaging was fine, but they're like, why are you in this much pain? And also my white blood cell count was super high. So they were like, okay, let's
hmm.
see what's going on. So they did a scope that I actually had to fight for because they wanted my regular GI doctor to do it, but I was like, no, he can't do it for like weeks. Like, I need this done now. So
Hmm.
another doctor did a scope, and that was basically like the trigger decision for surgery, was this specific scope.
So that, like, after years of struggling, that's what you made you finally say, okay, like it is time for
Yeah,
surgery.
so the scope showed that my disease was in remission, but I had permanent scarring on this part of your
Hmm.
intestine called the terminal ileum. It's where your small and large intestine come together. It's supposed to be
Hmm.
open like this, but mine was like this from scarring.
Just to understand, with Crohn's disease, you can go into remission from it. Like it's something that can
Yes,
be healed.
so you can be in remission. People can be in remission for like decades and yeah, be totally fine. Like, but other people have repeated like flare-ups and relapses and stuff. That
Hmm.
everyone is so different with Crohn's.
When you say surgery, it's time for surgery. What is that surgery? What is that decision that you're
So
making?
basically, at a surface level, the surgery is just removing the damaged parts of your intestine. So the parts that are scarred, they take out and they reconnect your intestines with healthy parts. So that's like the big surface level.
Through this, and even before, right? Like through those hospital visits, what mentally are, what is it that you're going through from not just a physical, but a mental perspective? Like how do you continuously fight through that? How are your relationships affected up into this point?
Yeah, so I would say that the period of time in my life where I was in and out of the hospital was probably the worst of my life because everything was so unstable and like I talked about this in therapy so many times. Like instability gets me down. Like for example, like the job stuff. Like I was like, can I even stay at a job? Will a job accept me if I'm gonna be in and out of the hospital? Like if I don't know what's going on with my body, like how can I even support myself knowing that I could be in the hospital at any time? And what I learned was that one of those times that I experienced a bowel obstruction statistically should have killed me. I forgot the official statistic, but a certain percentage of people who go in with untreated bowel obstructions like will die. And that
Yeah.
so I was like, if I can't even find a job, like my marriage was fine. Luckily I have a really awesome and supportive wife who shout
Shout
out
out to the
to the
wife.
wife for real. um, and there's also another shout out I wanted to give that I forgot to say earlier. If I could get that
Oh,
in here.
give your
So,
flowers, yeah.
in the beginning, when I was first diagnosed with Crohn's, I would have pain at the same time every single day during my Algebra 2 class. Every single day. Like, I would get pain and I would have to go to the bathroom and I would spend not 2 to 3 minutes in there. I'd probably be in there for like 15, 20 minutes, and my teacher never once gave me shit for it. And his name is Mr. Corkin. I don't know if you would ever listen to this, but like he was the best. And
Shout out Mr.
seriously, and when I
Corkin.
finally told him, like when I was finally diagnosed, he was like, I knew something was going on, but like I'm not gonna get in your business. You're my student. My job is to help you, not like get in your business.
Yeah.
So shout out
Yeah.
to Mr.
Wow.
Corkin for real.
Yeah, I mean, in all these years, that's something like him holding such like a special part in that story
Yeah,
too is, I mean, just shows the impact what educators or any,
yeah,
people around us are
for
responsible
real.
for.
Okay,
Yeah, so shout out to your wife, shout out to your
absolutely.
teacher.
We can get back on track now.
um Up next is the surgery, right? Like how do you prepare for this surgery? How do you mentally prepare? How do you physically
So my
prepare?
surgeon, Dr. Bazio, who is actually like amazing. Shout out to Dr. Bazio. If
Shout out Dr.
anyone
Bazia.
who ever listens to this needs like a good colorectal surgeon, go to Dr. Bazio in Sylvania, Ohio. So he did a really good job of keeping me prepared. He gave me like this whole booklet of like what to do leading up to the surgery. I don't know if that's typical. Um, but like I said before, like my medical team for the surgery was like top notch. First of all, the most important thing was I couldn't have coffee for a whole month.
The most
That was
important
really
part.
hard because anyone who knows me, I'm a barista, so like I love coffee so much. So that was hard. And then I had to have what was called a low residue diet, which means no fiber. So like basically like the brat diet. You know what that is?
No, I don't know what that is.
Okay, so the brat diet is I think it's bananas, rice, applesauce, and toast. That's what brat stands for. So it's just like a really plain diet. And he wanted me to I had to drink Miralax every single day, twice a day.
I'm no stranger to Miralax.
Yeah. So the purpose of that was to actually keep things moving properly so that I don't get another obstruction before the surgery. Because, like, if I were to get another obstruction in the same place, like, could have been really bad news. And he also wanted me to exercise like 4 to 5 days a week leading up to the surgery. And that was also to keep, he used the word motility, just to keep things moving healthily. So, like I said, I don't know if that's typical of other surgeons, but I think my doctor did a really good job of preparing me for the surgery.
For what was going to happen. And yeah, and something that you also had, I don't know, I know that we spoke about this, but you did not have to end up, you avoided having a colostomy bag. And was this something, though, that you had to mentally prepare as a possibility
Yeah,
for?
it really was. So my surgeon kept it straight up with me. He was like, look, there's a lot that imaging does not show, and we will not know the extent of your damage until we get in there. So I can't give you a guarantee on if you're going to have a bag or not. I had no idea going into it if I was going to wake up with one.
What you,
And I knew
yeah.
that I had such a great team that, like, no matter what happened, like, I would be okay. And plus, shout out to the wife again. She said, I'll help you if you need to get a bag." So,
That's
yeah.
till death do us part.
Um,
Now you're in remission, and that wasn't the case. So how does it kind of feel to be on the other
it
side?
feels really good. I actually just had my 1 year post-op scope done back in January, and my doctor said, I don't need to see you for 5 years. And I was like, I've never heard that in my life.
That's awesome. Congrats. What does treatment look like now then compared to when you were first diagnosed, right? Is there anything that you need to
So,
do now? Not, I'm hoping no more
no more
20
20
pills.
pills. I mean, I still take pills for other things, but so now I'm on Skyrizi. You've probably seen commercials for it.
I have not, but it is a funny
Yeah.
name for a drug.
um, there's a song that goes with it that my sister like sings to me sometimes. It's funny. But anyways,
It sounds like a
right.
Gen Z term, like
It's
Skyrizi,
actually
right?
used to
Like
treat IBD and psoriasis, which I have both. So I used to have really bad psoriasis, like behind my ears, and that has gone away since I started doing these biologic medications for Crohn's. Because it's all related. Like, all the
yeah.
autoimmune stuff is related. But to answer your question, before I was on a medication called Remicade, and I would have to do like 6 hour infusions of that. That's just how long it took to infuse. But now I just get it delivered to my house, and I stick it on me and I press a button, and it takes like 3 minutes.
It's fascinating and incredible how much medicine has advanced over the years too. It really just impacts the quality of someone's life and the simplicity, but it just shows how important to access of medicine it
Mm-hmm.
is, right? Like people need access to be able to find solutions to their problems, and someone's health is just so important that it's just, really important to have that access.
Definitely.
What has this experience taught you about, self-advocacy and navigating the medical system?
So I've learned that doing research on the internet is kind of like a double-edged sword. But truly, like, I know Reddit can be the devil, but it also can be like a really good resource just to find other people who's having, like, you could search the most obscure thing and you can find a Reddit for it. You're not alone, for real. Anyone who's
Yeah.
going through some shit, some weird shit, or just they don't know what it is, like, do some research on it. Definitely get second opinions. I'm actually in the process of getting a second opinion for another issue.
Which we'll talk
Yeah.
about in a little bit. Yeah. Closing out around Crohn's, what is it that you wish people understood more about Crohn's disease and autoimmune conditions in
Well,
general?
I wish people knew that Crohn's it is considered a disabling diagnosis. Like, you can get disability, federal, like SSI, for Crohn's disease if your situation warrants it. And also, it's an invisible disease. So, really, I've learned that you really never know what someone is like going through.
And for those that might be listening right now and struggling with their own chronic illness, what's something you would want them
You're
to know?
definitely not alone. Definitely not alone for sure. And always seek external validation if you need it, whether it's from the internet, whether it's from your friends or family, or getting a second opinion. Um, it just trust your gut. Definitely trust your gut.
We're not done. We're kind of just switching topics just a little bit. I know that, some things have popped up, but I know that I've learned quite a bit. Some people close to me that just have that, like autoimmune conditions as well. And it's just really important to just walk with empathy, right? Everyone's kind of dealing with their own struggles that might, like you said, are invisible.
Definitely.
So we touched again, this is kind of a different topic, but a different thing that also you're going through, and that's menstrual cycles, just like painful menstrual cycles. And I find this to be a topic that kind of hits home, and I think it's also really important for it to be touched on. If you could just kind of talk about when you first started experiencing this and how doctors initially responded to you when you brought this to their attention.
So I started having painful cycles in high school, but also like my periods were just like really intense. Like the cramping, like the emotional parts. It would always start on like a day that I didn't want it to. I mean, you never wanted your period to start, but I said before, I was in band, like it would always start on a Friday night as I was going in about to march for a football game. And those nights would be especially hard. Like I said earlier, I was kind of overweight for a lot of my life. And I actually lost a little bit of weight, or I was in a little bit better shape in 2018 when I studied abroad in Germany. And just the food was healthier. I was walking everywhere. Like, I was just much healthier. And I went through a time where my cycles were actually like pretty normal. And then after all this Crohn stuff happened, I gained a bunch of weight back from the steroids that they put me on. And that kind of worsened I was diagnosed with PCOS in 2019. And like any pound gained for PCOS can basically like just knock you down. Like all the progress you've made, like just gets washed down the drain. Especially with the steroids I was on, I gained 20 pounds in a month from that. And
Wow.
that really kicked off my periods being super painful when I gained a bunch of weight. And I went to an endocrinologist, and he said, well, you just need to lose the weight. And I was like, perfect, but how? Like, I've tried everything. And he said, well, we can try to put you on Ozempic, but I doubt your insurance will cover it. And I was like, okay, you can try, I guess. And of course, it wasn't covered. So he put me on metformin. Have you ever heard of metformin?
Yeah, they use
Oh,
that in
yeah.
IVF too.
It is. They do say it makes you fertile. I actually still take the metformin only because it helps significantly with my like cravings that I experience with insulin resistance and PCOS and stuff. But the metformin didn't do anything for my period. So like fast forward to now, it's been almost 6 years since I was diagnosed with PCOS, and I'm still having really painful cycles. Like the first day, I will have so much pain that I will vomit. I don't know if the puking is from the pain or like, because I also get really bad anxiety with the cramps. So it's like the anxiety will like, you start with a pit in your stomach and then it works its way up to your chest. And then I eventually just puke. Sometimes I will pass out from it. Like, I went to a concert a couple summers ago, and it was the first day of my period, and I straight up I like blacked out for a second. I was like leaning into the girl next to me. And luckily we had made friends that night, so she was like cool with it. But she was like, "Girl, are you okay? Do you need some
Yeah.
liquid IV?" And I was like, "Yes, I do. I need anything."
I need anything.
So my period has gotten me multiple times on days, giving me non-pleasant experiences for a long time.
Yeah, and that it shouldn't be like that, right? Like our bodies shouldn't be in pain for those reasons, and I think that the fact that I think in general we have an issue with not taking women's complaints in a medical way,
Hmm.
like seriously. So there's a lot of lack of research behind it. And I can relate so much to you speaking to that because I also, in college, I would pass out. I would get like cold sweats. I would get
Hmm.
like, I would throw up. I would do all the things that you're speaking to. Now it's the pain, like I can like kind of get through it. Some months are a lot worse where like I like cannot do anything. I'm just
Yeah,
tapped out. Like I can't move, can't, and everyone's like, "Oh, just move, it makes it
you
better." And I'm
really
like, I
cannot.
literally cannot do anything. I don't want to bring this to me too much, but like I went to the doctor about it and they prescribed me something to try and I went to go pick it up and it was like $600 and I was like, I'm not taking this. Like I don't even remember what it was. Like I was like, I'm not taking this.
That's awful. Luckily, I have
Yeah.
Medicaid right now, and they're like covering like everything that I'm doing regarding like
Mhm.
getting tested for endometriosis. So,
Yeah.
um, I had an ultrasound done last Wednesday, and I actually had to call today to get the results. And normally I get the results in my chart like the next day. So I was like, what is taking so long? And they said that they hadn't even looked at it yet, but the doctor glanced at it and said that everything looks fine. And I was like, okay, so what can I do for my painful periods? And they're like, well, birth control. And I was like, okay. I didn't tell them, I didn't want to like piss her off, but like, I didn't tell them that I'm getting a second opinion next month. So I'm actually going to this OBGYN who saved my coworker's life 3 times. She's a
Wow.
very experienced OBGYN, and she's also in a same-sex marriage, which makes me feel extremely comfortable. So she
Mhm.
understands the not wanting birth control. I don't really need it kind of thing.
For sure. Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
she's gonna understand when I say I don't want kids. So
Mhm.
this kind of leads me into that phone call I had. I went to the ER for my last period, which was like a week and a half ago, and because I was like, okay, maybe I had the same mindset as I did with the Crohn's. Maybe if they can get imaging done while I'm in pain, they can find something. So I went to the
Mhm.
ER and in hopes of getting an ultrasound and maybe some like pain and nausea medication because it was like 10 out of 10 pain. And my mom asked me, she said, you should call the on call doctor for your OB's office. So I did. And it was a male. I normally see a female, but the on call doctor was a male.
Mhm.
No shout out to this guy. Um,
No shout outs.
I'm not gonna say his name because I already kind of like blasted him on my social media, and I got a lot of messages about him. And the only positive experiences that people had are people that had kids. But I have other people who don't
Mhm.
have kids that have seen him that had really negative experiences. So I was like, that's interesting. And he just sounded
Mhm.
very like I was inconveniencing him on the phone. He literally like told me to hold on while he got another call, which like I get it cuz he's busy delivering babies and stuff, but like I'm just looking for
Mhm.
guidance. And he says, "Well, what's up?" And I said, "Okay." So I explained the situation to him that my gynecologist wanted me to have an ultrasound within like 3 to 4 days after starting my period. So he was like, well, I don't know if they're going to do that for you, but if you're in that much pain, then go. And then he asked, wait, does this happen every month? And I said, yeah, for a few years now. And he was like, well, that sounds normal for you then. And I was like, what the fuck about this is normal? Like, what
Yeah.
about having to leave work every month? What about like puking and passing out? What about being in so much pain that I can't even like get out of bed? Like,
Yeah, none of
I
that
know,
sounds
like
normal.
it might be common, but it's not normal. That's a big thing. Like, it might be common, but it's not normal.
Yeah, and what advice would you give to women that feel like their doctors aren't listening to them?
The menace in me wants to tell women to tell their doctors to fuck off more if they're not doing their job, of course. But I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say just advocate for yourself. Get a second opinion, whether it means someone else in that office or like another office completely. So I'm going to another office completely because I'm not happy with
Mm-hmm.
the one that I'm going to right now. So trust your gut, get second opinions if you're able to. I know sometimes you're not able to, sometimes insurance won't cover it, but
The unfortunate
unfortunately.
truths of insurance. As we kind of get towards the end of this episode, besides going through this, but outside of that, what's next for you and how are you celebrating being right? You just got really fantastic news in January, being in remission, don't have to see your doctor for
Mm-hmm.
five years. What's next?
So I'm really just trying to appreciate the little things in life more. I'm trying to do more things that make me happy instead of trying to make other people happy.
Where can people connect with you if they want to learn more, reach out, either maybe a social handle or email, whatever you're
Okay,
comfortable
so
with?
my Instagram is Becca, BECCA, SP underscore. So Becca SP underscore. And
Perfect.
then,
So if you're listening and you want to reach
yes,
out to Becca, you can reach out her
yes.
on
Or
Instagram.
I'm also lurking in the Facebook groups of For the
Hmm.
Haters and Common Chaos and, all the things. I'm in those groups too. So search Becca Ann and you'll find me.
Everywhere. Yeah, that's a great plug. I haven't really said that yet, but make sure, or, I haven't reminded. I'm gonna have to add some additional tidbits in, but I did create a For the Haters Facebook group so that we can connect people, and so it's like a safe place for people to come and
Hmm.
ask questions, and that's what I'm hoping to
Yeah.
build there. So thanks for reminding me. What do you hope that listeners take away from your
I
story?
hope that people take away that you can be your own biggest advocate and really lean on people around you. If you have, my wife's name is Gabby. If you have a Gabby in your life, lean on her. I would like people to know that you're definitely not alone, and for sure, hit me up if you're in need of someone to listen because I've been through some crazy shit. I'm down for hearing some crazy shit.
I love that. I don't love that you went through crazy shit. I love that you're opening your doors for people to come, um, to relate
Yeah,
to
I'm
and to
really
speak to.
looking
One,
for like more people to connect with, especially like through your community.
mhm, yeah, you will too. This community is the best. There's people out there silently struggling, and oftentimes, at least one person will reach out just to know that, to remind you that you also aren't alone through these. One more question, but before I ask, anything that you didn't say that you're like, oh, I wish I would have mentioned this throughout this episode.
Um, hmm, I don't think so. You got everything.
All right, my final question is if you could say anything to your younger self, what would it be?
Hang on. I would say hang on. And it gets better.
Short and to the point. Awesome. Well, thank you, Becca, so much for sharing your story today. Your journey is a powerful reminder of the importance of trusting your body, pushing for answers, and never giving up on yourself, even when the medical system makes it incredibly hard. To anyone listening, if you're struggling with a chronic illness, you are not alone. Your pain is real. Keep advocating for yourself, keep fighting for answers, and don't let anyone make you feel like what you're experiencing isn't valid. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on For the Haters.
Thank you so much, Becky.
Thanks for listening to For the Haters. Don't forget to connect with us on socials, follow, like, and share to help more people find this community, and remember, they're not alone. And if you haven't yet, join our Facebook group. We'd love to have you there. The more we grow, the more lives we can impact.
What's your name and share your story? We'll be waiting. Yeah. For the haters.